Hi guys, my name is Chukwuka John Mayor Jackal, and I'm here today trying to bring you guys this message that has been swirling in my heart for quite some time now. So I'm currently in Lagos, Nigeria, and each time I come into my country, Nigeria, it's usually sad feelings and sad sensations that I have when I walk the streets of Lagos and walk the streets of Nigeria. So today I really wanted to pour out my heart to you guys and kind of go through what I deeply feel, and also about the 2023 presidential election that we have coming up next year. So Nigeria's story is a quite pathetic one. How can a group of people be so poor, yet they are richly blessed with natural resources? How can we adequately account for all the blessings that we've been given in this country, and yet we're still suffering? And this goes back to leadership. It goes back to the people that we have blindly elected in the past. It goes back to the people that have forcefully imposed themselves on us as leaders, as people to look up to. And yet again, we have a presidential election coming up in 2023, and we have to make another choice. We have to decide again, what direction are we going to go as a people group? Who is going to lead us in that direction? And that's the reason why I'm making this video. Because somehow, poverty has been used as a tool to control the people and the masses here in Nigeria. How can you possibly make a case of someone who gets 5,000 to vote for a political party that is going to enslave them for another 4 years? How can you possibly make sense of that? How can you possibly make sense of people who believe that Nigeria is their birthright? It is my turn to be president. How can you possibly make sense of people who have been in leadership? When I was in school in St. Mary the Virgin Anglican Church, Onitsha, I was told that I was the leader of tomorrow. I was the leader of the future. Yet again, the people that has been in political office since then have refused to let go of power. They've been very insistent that it is their turn. So henceforth, Nigeria is being rationed among the political elites. It's my turn. This time is your turn next time. This brings me back to what I really wanted to talk about today. I want to let you guys know that Nigeria is at a precipice. We have to change the direction. We have to change the trajectory of this country. We have to move in a different direction. We have to make sure that we pull people out of poverty. Literally, I walked into the Lagos International Airport, the Murtala Mohammed Airport. People were begging left from right. Now, I have no problem giving tips to people. I think it's a good thing. But when tips are now demanded that you have to pay us tip, I have a problem with that. And I also have a problem when people who are doing their job, you are elected or you are employed to do a job, and you are now, demanding tips from people. I do have a problem with that. But at the same time, do you really blame these people? The inflation rate in this country is growing at an exponential rate. Why the salaries are not growing? Of course, they have to seek for other means to account or to make up for the expenses that they are making on a daily basis. Somebody might be earning 100,000 naira per month and went to go buy rice. The rice was selling 8,000 years ago, and now the rice is selling 16,000 or 20,000. How is this person going to make up for the inflation of the goods and services while their salary stays at the same level? Now, while I do understand that problems are all over the world, but in Nigeria, it is quite complex, because it seems like while the people are suffering, the political elites are thereabouts gallivanting. One week, this week they are in Spain, the next week they are in the UK, the other week they are in the United States, and this is how they are effectively, I scratch that word, not effectively, this is how they are mismanaging the funds of this country. I heard of a governor who came to Lagos and gave to the women here 300 million. I was like, where is all this money coming from? The masses on the streets are not seeing this money, but the political elites, they have all this money to share. They have all this money to gallivant about. They have all this money to display with their private jets. However, things has to change in Nigeria. I'm going to bring you a story of a guy, Jonathan, his armor bearer, and the people called the Philistines. And I love the Bible, and you know that's why I want to take you to the Bible, and we're going to read about the story, Jonathan, his armor bearer, and the Philistines. And I'm going to draw out some wisdom so I can share with you about this 2023 election. Okay, now I'm going to take from 1 Samuel chapter 13. I'm going to read verse 19, right? Now, this story of Jonathan and Israel and also the Philistines. So the Philistines were the oppressors. They were the people who perpetually tried to keep the Israelites under bondage, right? So they'll be like, okay, since we have conquered you guys are going to pay some certain level of taxation to us. You are going to give us some of your crops, and if we want your kids, we can come take your kids. Basically, you don't have any opinion. You don't have any say of your own, right? But if we want it, we are going to come take it, right? So that was the background story relating to this. But look at one way, in one of the ways in which the Philistines perpetually kept the Israelites under bondage. Look at it. And this is 1 Samuel 13 verse 19. It says, there were no blacksmiths in the land of Israel in those days. The Philistines wouldn't allow them. The Philistines wouldn't allow for a blacksmith to be in Israel. Does that sound like the problems that we're having in Nigeria? How the political elites would not allow the trickle-down effects of finances, of opportunities to go down to the people, down in the masses. That sounds very parallel and very similar to the problems that Nigeria is having today, right? So we have the oppressors who are the political elites, the people that have claimed Nigeria as their inheritance. These are the people that we are struggling with. The people that have restricted the flow of finances and restricted the flow of opportunities down to the poor masses. Out of 200 million people, the majority of Nigeria can be considered poor by the world indices because of things like this. Because the Philistines wouldn't allow them, for the fear that they might make swords and spears for the Hebrew. So they won't allow blacksmiths because they don't want them to make spears. They don't want them to make swords. This is how these political elites, they are constricting the flow of opportunities to the poor masses because they are greedy, they are fearful. Why are they fearful? Because of what Nigeria can become, because of what your kids can become in the future. Is that why the political elite has decided to perpetually keep Nigeria? in this state of poverty. Is that why? Now let's look at the following chapter. So whenever the Israelites needed to sharpen their plows or their picks or their axes or their shackles, they need to take them to the Philistine blacksmiths. This is exactly what the political elites are doing to the Nigerian economy. They control literally everything. There is a politician in this state of Lagos that literally controls most of the government projects in this state. Why do you want to, what are you going to do with all this help, all this wealth? What do you want to do with all this wealth that you've accumulated? What are you going to do with it? So we are now dependent on these people. Whatever we want, we go and we go and beg. This is quite absurd. It's quite absurd. Why do you have to keep your people perpetually in bondage? But look at the following chapter. Verse 14. Now, this guy Jonathan said to his armor bearer, let us go across to the outposts of those pagans. Jonathan said to his armor bearer, perhaps the Lord will help us, for nothing can hinder the Lord. He can win a battle, whether he has many or a few. Now, track this story. Now, the armor bearer agreed, and Jonathan and his armor bearer, they went over. This is verse 11 now. They went over, crawling out of their outpost onto the men of the Philistines. And when the Philistines men saw them, they say, come on, climb right behind me. And when the Philistines saw them, they were like, come up here, we will teach you a lesson. Come up right behind me, Jonathan said to his armor bearer, for the Lord will help us defeat them. Now, this is where the story now gets very interesting. Now, suddenly both of them climbed, and the Philistines fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer killed those who came behind them. And they killed 20 men in all, right? And their bodies were scattered. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. It says that suddenly panic broke out in the Philistine army, both in the camp and in the field, and including even the outposts and the raiding parties. And just then, earthquake shook, and everybody was terrified. Now, I am bringing this story because it's time for Nigeria to be liberated. Number one, God is with this country. God wants his people. God has heard the cry of his people, and it's time for the people of Nigeria to be liberated. It says that panic broke out in the camps of the Philistines, and these Philistines, they have kept the Israelites in bondage for quite some time. They have restricted opportunities. They have constricted the poor masses. But it's time. I feel it in my spirit that 2023 is time for the trajectory of Nigeria to change. Now, suddenly, there was panic in the camp. There was panic in the camp. Panic is coming to these oppressors, to these political parties that have oppressed Nigeria, that has oppressed the citizens of this country for a very long time. Panic is coming. Now, we are seeing growing amount of confusion in the camp of political parties that have kept Nigeria poor, that have kept Nigerian masses poor, that have restricted opportunities. These political parties that are corrupt, that panic is coming. And number two, that confusion is coming to their camps. And this is how they are going to be confused. It says that the Philistines, they started fighting themselves. These guys that have been oppressing the children of Israelites, they started fighting themselves. This is what you are going to start seeing. The fighting they are going to be having within themselves is going to increase. Unless the Lord is not with Nigerian people, these people cannot get back to the office again. Now, this is where I'm going to summarize this whole story, because I don't want to go too much into into biblical analysis, I just want to summarize this story right here. Now, there is something that really happened that really got my attention, and that's why I'm here to encourage you as a Nigerian citizen, as somebody who has gotten their PVC. Do not relent in your efforts to go out to go vote. Now look at this. It's very important that you hear this. It says that with the infightings going between the Philistines, they are now killing themselves, right? Because all of a sudden confusion grew in their camp and they started fighting themselves, they started killing themselves. It says that even the Hebrews who had previously gone, this is verse 21, I'm reading 1 Samuel 14 verse 21. It says that even the Hebrews who had previously gone over to the Philistine army revolted and joined Saul and Jonathan and the rest of the Israelites. Even the Hebrews who had previously gone over the Philistines. Now, these were already Israelites, but they decided to join the Philistines, right? Because they want better opportunities for themselves, right? It says that they revolted and joined Saul and Jonathan back and started fighting the Philistines. Likewise, the men of Israel who were hiding in the hills of Ephraim joined and chased the Philistines away. These are two categories of people that I want to bring to your notice. Number one, these were, let me draw the parallel with the Nigerian situation. These were men who have joined political parties that have prolonged the sufferings of Nigerians. That's the first category of people. The second category of people is the people who believe that their vote doesn't count. It says that these men were in hiding. They were in hiding. They believe that, they don't want to go and vote, because their votes don't count. So they go and hid themselves during election time, which is what we call voter apathy, right? They don't believe that the government can deliver in their promises to give Nigeria a free and fair election. So they go and hide. And the second set of people are the people, they have joined the Philistine army. So they don't believe in Nigeria again. They join all these political parties that, perhaps they are earning one or two things from there as an opportunity. Now it says that these people came back. Why? Because of a guy called Jonathan. A guy called Jonathan decided that I am going to take a step, that if the Lord be with me, he's going to cause confusion in the camps of the Israelites. And that happened exactly like he dreamt. And there was confusion. So this is the wisdom that I'm drawing out. A man has truly come out. And from all the indices, from all the metrics that I'm seeing, I am convinced that the Lord is with this guy. He's making impact, he's making waves. I'm talking about the guy, Peter Obi. I used to want to compete for some sort of election in Nigeria, but that dream died because of the sheer amount of corruption that is currently existing in Nigeria today. The dream just died. But as this man came, I'm like one of those guys who went to go hide. I feel hope. I feel faith. I feel courage come back. This guy is bringing courage back to the political arena. He's bringing hope. He's asking us to take our country back. Let us go ahead and take our country back, people. Let's take our country back. Let's take Nigeria back and mold this country into what it was designed to be. Peter Obi is coming out, and I'm truly soliciting that you go out there and vote for Labour Party. This is the only party that I know right now that has the manifesto, that has the passion, that has the compassion, that has the empathy to bring Nigeria to what it was truly designed to be. Please do go out and vote. Don't stay indoors and say that your vote doesn't count. And vote for somebody you are going to be proud of tomorrow. Look at what these people have done. Look at what those people have done. Judge them correctly and make sure you are part of the solution of this country called Nigeria. Do not become another problem by voting for the wrong people, by voting for these aged people that should be in nursing homes, that voting for people who believe in other countries, who believe in the healthcare of other countries, believe in the economic procedures of other countries more than they believe in the country that they are running to be presidents, who believe that Nigeria is their turn, that ruling Nigeria is their turn. We cannot continue in this misery. We cannot continue in this trajectory to nothingness. We have to change our direction. And we have an opportunity. We have a Jonathan in this political race. We have a third force that you and I can vote and make sure that we bring the right person to office. Now, this is my little contribution. I'm gonna be doing a whole lot more to make sure that I bring more light into this situation. But this is me soliciting that you make a wise choice. Vote a wise leader. When the righteous are in power, the people rejoice. Vote a nice leader. Vote a wonderful leader for 2023 election. And this is Chukwuka John Umeyo Jaco, and I approve of this message.